You can order the outer tie rods used in the video on CarParts.com via the link in the description. Turn your engine off and set the parking brake. Loosen the stud bolts on the front wheels. To be able to change the tie rod ends on your vehicle, you need to remove the wheels to gain complete access to the steering system. Lift the front of your vehicle. Place the vehicle on the jack stands. We strongly suggest watching our video on how to jack your Chevrolet Silverado safely before carrying out this step. Don't forget to put the wheels under the vehicle. Turn the brake disc inward to make this operation easier. You can now see the outer tie rod. The components to be removed are very often seized up, so don't hesitate to brush and to use penetrating oil to make removal easier. With a marker, trace a line between the inner tie rod and the outer tie rod. This will be useful later on during its assembly and disassembly. With a 24mm wrench, loosen the lock nut on the outer tie rod. Hold the inner tie rod with a 16mm wrench to prevent it from turning. The lock nut is there to prevent any rotation of the two parts towards each other, which could have an impact on the wheel alignment of your vehicle. Using a wire brush, brush the outer tie rod holding the nut and spray it with penetrating oil. Using a 21mm wrench, unscrew the outer tie rod holding nut. Using a ratchet and a 10mm socket, hold the ball joint to prevent it from turning. If you do not have a ball joint puller, a tool specifically designed for this task, take a hammer and hit the knuckle. The ball joint should come out of the knuckle. Use the markings made with the marker to return the lock nut to its original position. Unscrew the outer tie rod and remove it. Hey, it's Alex from CarParts.com. For great content, our best price, and fast shipping, download the CarParts.com app now. Then measure the distance between the lock nut and the end of the inner tie rod using a caliper. In any case, a wheel alignment check will have to be carried out by a professional soon after having performed this operation. Remove the lock nut from the inner tie rod. You can order the outer tie rods used in the video on CarParts.com via the link in the description. Take the new outer tie rod and unscrew the lock nut supplied with it. Screw the lock nut back on until the distance measured with the caliper is reached. Put the outer tie rod back in place until it touches the lock nut. Using a wire brush, scrub the knuckle. Then apply silicone grease to the flat part that will be in contact with the sleeve of the outer tie rod. Do not grease the inside of the cone. Put the outer tie rod back in place in the knuckle. During this operation, you will work on the steering system of your vehicle. A professional alignment check should be performed to ensure that your steering system is once again perfectly adjusted and functioning. Put the nut supplied with the new part in place and tighten it using a 21mm wrench. Using a ratchet and a 10mm socket, hold the ball joint to prevent it from turning. Finish tightening using a torque wrench. Next, add the recommended torque angle tightening, using the marker technique to confirm the correct angle. Screw the grease fitting onto the top of the outer tie rod by hand at first. Then using a small ratchet, a small extender, and an 8mm socket to lock it in place. Finish tightening using a torque wrench. Finish tightening the lock nut using a 24mm wrench by holding the inner tie rod still with the help of a 16mm wrench to avoid damaging the outer tie rod. Then you will be able to put the wheels back on your vehicle. Put the car back on the ground and block the wheels properly. Operation complete.